that kind of inflammatory, insulting, and blasphemous language does not belong on the side panels of any military vehicle, and not to mention it's like complete total foolishness and idiocy. You're trying to win a counterinsurgency war in an Islamic environment. Now on page 34 in the right-hand column, Mr. Charlotte writes, but after the school brought in as speakers, the school being the Air Force Academy, but after the school brought in as speakers for a mandatory assembly 3 Christian evangelists who proclaimed that the only solution to terrorism was, quote, kill Islam, I decided not that much had changed. Okay, first of all, he does not name any of these 3 evangelists. He does not provide any quote other than 2 words, kill Islam. Okay, so there is no attribution of this quote. The evangelists are not named. And this is, we're just supposed to accept on face value what Mr. Charlotte asserts in 2 words as a summary of the message of 3 evangelists, quote unquote. There's no attribution that that was their capacity speaking to the Air Force Academy. But then again, this is the tenor of Mr. Charlotte's bald assertions and his quote unquote journalism. Okay? And then here's a clever way Mr. Charlotte wants to captivate his readers with his insights. At the end of the right-hand column on page 34, he says, Butcher said, explaining his decision to transfer from the Air Force to the Army upon graduation, a pilot has only his plane to talk to. An infantry officer, said Butcher, has his men to mold, Iraqis to convert. Okay? No quotations. Just saying that Butcher is joining the Army from the Air Force in order to convert Iraqis ostensibly on the battlefield. No quote from Butcher saying any such thing. Okay, so this is the type of non-professional journalistic non-attribution that populates this particular article, in which he's trying to sell his readers that there is an evangelical takeover occurring in the military right now. Okay, listen to this gratuitous remark. Page 35, left-hand column. He says, Butcher asked me not to disclose the group's name. Those who do believe in the separation of church and state might interfere with its goal of turning the world's most elite war college into its most holy one, a seminary with courses on carpet bombing. A seminary with courses on carpet bombing. This is how he describes the United States Air Force Academy, a seminary. Then, page 35, right-hand column, listen to this one. This was a real prize winner. Christian fundamentalism, like all fundamentalisms, is a narcissistic faith. No comment needed, no comment provided. Then he quotes from Under Orders, a spiritual handbook for military personnel by, he says Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, it's Army Lieutenant Colonel William McCoy, a friend of mine. Again, shoving words into his mouth. I can tell you, Bill McCoy is not a fundamentalist. Okay? He is not a fundamentalist. His co-workers and peers and theological compatriots do not consider Bill McCoy a fundamentalist. Okay, and then of course they dragged General Petraeus into this because General Petraeus in a private correspondence said this was a good document and it should be in the rucksack of every warrior who will be deployed or something like that. General Petraeus is not religious. You know, so to try to align David Petraeus with some kind of a foaming at the mouth fundamentalist takeover of the military, you're way off base, Mr. Charlotte. Okay, then page 37, he gets into this very sympathetic profile of Mikey Weinstein, who is on a witch hunt to find anything he can in any military chaplaincy expression that looks to him like an abridgment of the quote-unquote separation of church and state in the military ranks. Okay, page 37, but as Mikey's client base grows, so too do the ranks of his enemies. The picture window in his living room has been shot out twice, And last summer he woke to find a swastika and a cross scrawled on his door. And so this is service personnel performing these acts of vandalism? Most of the opposition that Mikey Weinstein is facing is polemical. People countering his arguments. People taking the opposite side, that the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights guarantees the expression of religious faith. Okay? Not the burdening it with unnecessary interference from the government. So yes, sometimes bad things happen when you take very radical, ferocious stands in our population. I don't condone breaking windows or any type of vandalism or any anti-Semitism or any of that stuff against Mikey Weinstein. But the author here, Mr. Charlotte, attempts to conflate vandalism with any opposition of Mikey Weinstein's radical witch hunt against religious expression in military settings. Page 38. Left-hand column. American evangelicalism has entrenched, tightening its hold on the institutions that conservative evangelicals consider the most American, that is, Christian. Tightening its hold on the institution? Tightening its hold? Hold. So, evangelicalism has a hold on any institution in America other than church. Can you please name one? And if you can find one affiliated with anything to do with the military establishment, I'm waiting. I'm all ears, Mr. Charlotte. Another bald assertion, another editorial opinion asserted as fact, and it has nothing to do with fact. All right, page 38, right-hand column. Morton says 80% of the Protestant chaplaincy self-identifies as conservative and or evangelical. He cites a sociological move of the pendulum away from mainline Protestant domination in the 50s and 60s. Well, guess what? Most of the mainline Protestant churches are not sending their ministers into the armed services anymore because no one can become a military chaplain unless their churches or synagogues or endorsing bodies offer them to the military service as a chaplain. Not only that, but many of the mainline Protestant denominations are diminishing in their numbers because they have welcomed so much liberal, secular gobbledygook, dumbing down their faiths and distancing themselves from historical Christianity. So it's not a problem that the evangelicals are just too aggressive and they're taking over. This is just what happens when some people continue on with more or less a continuum of historical Christianity, and some people take a step away, or as it were, completely and radically depart from it. Well, some of these churches aren't very big anymore, their seminaries aren't very crowded, and there aren't many ministers to offer the military. It's just the way it is. So to pin that on somehow the aggressiveness of the evangelicals is also disingenuous. All right, page 38. He then talks about Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Hensley in the 101st Airborne Division. Now, I'm not going to comment about Chaplain Hensley. His the film that is cited here that was taken by Mr. Brian Hughes, which is now being circulated on YouTube and Al Jazeera, shows gratuitous edits of Chaplain Hensley's sermons, Bible studies, etc., and then those are edited together with what looks to be or appears to be comments about evangelizing Afghans. And this type of gratuitous editing results in the appearance of a U.S. Army chaplain advocating some kind of a military takeover of Afghanistan, or using the military to evangelize and proselytize Afghans. That's ridiculous. Okay. Then page 39. Sorry, page 41. Remark about... I did stress the fact that in America we believe our rights come from God, not come from government. Truth is truth, and there's no benefit in lying about it. Okay? What's your problem with this, Mr. Charlotte? Do you think that our rights come from government? Page 42, right-hand column. What is the nature of this evil, Mr. Charlotte writes? Some conservative evangelicals call it postmodernism. What they mean Mr. Charlotte asserts, is the very idea of diversity.